is Costa. Tonight we're joined by the Zambia Must Prosper President in Kelvin Waliafube to get his reactions over the President's address and whether it does inspire confidence towards the nation's direction, and indeed through this speech and the agenda outlined, will Zambia prosper? Mr. President of Zambia Must Prosper, it's a pleasure to host you in Costa, and welcome.
Thank you, Costa, and good evening, viewers.
I must say, really, that quite a very lengthy speech, over 3 hours, of addressing the nation in Parliament. We will try and break it down in the various sectors, but just let's have an overview. Did you sit in and listen to the President's speech?
Yes, I listened, and I heard what the President said. And obviously, I'm not convinced. I'm not impressed. And I think we've been hearing the same thing repeating itself. Same rhetoric, same lecture format, no practical issues at all, none.
Well, obviously, the UPND as the party in government did set out an agenda through its manifesto from 2021 to 2026. And when you say nothing has changed, it's obviously that 4 years down the line, they're trying to build on what they started. And in his address, the President emphasized that the economy has turned around. And of more, emphasis is that even international players like the IMF and international business scribes such as Bloomberg are poising Zambia in the right direction. We've been touted this year to have one of the most performing, GDP, poised to hit about 6 to 8% next year, and so on. So certainly there is, growth in that direction with the agenda they set out in 2021.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Costa, and I think many of the viewers will agree with me that the economy under the UPND is not going to grow because, as you know, there is nothing to point at. There are no indicators on the ground. I think I'll take you back to what is commonly known as Akaluto Shikabwai. Anybody who wants to talk about the economy, anybody who wants to talk about growth, must translate that into how much it's dropping down to the common man. And if that is not affecting food on the table, it is not affecting the price of mealie meal, it's not affecting the price of fuel, electricity, then you're just talking in the skies. We heard the President during his opposition days talk to us about graphs, figures and things. Nothing is working. Yes, people sometimes say numbers don't lie, but those numbers are coming from where?
Yeah, but it's very easy to sit in your position as an opposition critic and say it's not adding up. How else then would you measure economic performance if it's not for GDP, if it's not for inflation? I've read your book and several examples that you cite in terms of tiger economies like Singapore and things that you see. How else then, KBF, would you measure an economy if it ain't for GDP, if it's not for inflation? How would you measure it?
Growth.
Yeah, but growth is out of GDP.
Productivity
is GDP.
But there is no growth in Zambia. There is no production in Zambia. Let me give you two examples.
But the numbers are saying we're coming out of a minus GDP. We're coming out of a debt tube that has been restructured.
Costa, maybe let me do this for the Zambians who are out there so that maybe we can start on a good note. What is debt restructuring? You're deferring your debt for the future generation. You're passing on the buck to your children and my grandchildren, your grandchildren. That's not growth. That's enslavement. What we must be looking at now are ways and means of being able to clear the debt, being productive. There is no production going on. Why? Two things. One, energy. The moment the energy factors are not looked at, Costa, nothing works. Energy is in two forms: electricity, petroleum products. If you don't control the prices of this, or these two are going up every time, there'll be no productivity. There'll be no growth. These Bloomberg, whatever you call them, and anyway, international organizations, they want to make us think and feel good. I'm not interested in that.
But that has always been the global standard. And if you were to to be president tomorrow, this is why I'm asking you, what standard, what numbers then would you be using as Zambia must prosper if you're not going to adapt to the global system of GDP as a growth figure of both production and growth? If you're not going to look at an inflation that is coming down, then what yardsticks do you use?
If that yardstick means enslavement for the future, I don't want it. What we should be looking at is ways and means of clearing our debt. That's it. If we don't clear that, we're not doing anything, Costa. And this is what the problem is. Hakainde Hichilema has been friends with these so-called investors. What has he brought so far to the table? Nothing, apart from figures coming out of his mouth, 25 billion this, 25 billion that. Wooing on investors from Saudi Arabia, from where. We have seen nothing on the ground. Zambians need local solutions. And those local solutions mean, for example, in the energy sector, we must increase generation of electricity. We must control and open up the transmission lines. We must localize the transmission lines so that we ensure who is in charge of the transmission lines. Distribution must be left to ZESCO and other people because these are metering things. But generation must be increased. How do you increase that? There are so many sectors. CEC, for instance, has got sites in Luapula, sites in Muchinga, sites in Northern Province, where they have to open up new hydropower stations. Why are we not doing that? It's a private company which wants to invest, and the government is saying no. Bring in private capital to invest in those areas.
But when you talk about that, surely two things.
Yes.
This government has put in policy reforms in the energy sector, and we'll be coming to it. The issues of open access. Two, you're talking about increased investment into hydro.
Yes.
Is that surely your policy as a party in light of climate change factors?
I was giving an example. But if you want to talk about energy, for instance, the hydropower in the southern part of Zambia, where water sometimes becomes scarce because of lack of rains. In the northern circuit, we don't have that problem. Why are we not investing there? Muchinga, Luapula, northern, we don't have that problem. We're near the Ituri forest of the Congo. The rain patterns there haven't changed. With or without climate change. That hasn't changed.
Like I say, it's very easy to criticize, and disappointingly so for you in the opposition. You accuse President Hichilema and the UPND of singing the same song. We've also heard you of just singing the same song. It's Abepa Fiobufi, there's nothing new. He's talking graphs, he's talking figures. But you are not providing the credible checks and balances, equally are not giving us an alternative blueprint. So let me give you this platform tonight. If you had to give us a blueprint,
right,
have you done a proper feasibility study? How much it would cost, how many years, and where would this investment come from in the current setup of Zambia's debt position? Share that with us.
In the energy sector, for instance, which I said is in two forms, petroleum and electricity. Let me deal with petrol. The first solution we as Zambia Must Prosper are proposing to the Zambians is go back to what the Tazama pipeline was intended to be. Import commingled product. Revamp Indeni. That's the solution. Why? Because they've given Tazama pipeline to their friend, Shashi Patel. I know that for a fact. Shashi Patel has been given the monopoly to import finished product using a national infrastructure called Tazama, beating his friends at competition. I was chairman of this competition commission of this country for 8 years. I know what competition and monopoly can do. You give one player the monopoly to control your importation of fuel, you'll be dancing to his prices. Can I finish? I've asked a very important question. Let me finish.
I'll be coming to it.
Let me finish, Costa.
And disappointingly so,
we are not moving until I finish this point.
I ask an economic question, you bring a political answer.
It's not a political question, it's a solution.
I've asked about power. Let's get back to power. You spoke about generating power in Northern Province.
Energy is in two formats.
Yes,
if you listen,
and we'll come back to Tazama.
Give me time. Give me time,
Let's
Costa.
talk about electricity.
I will not answer the questions the way you want me to answer them.
But I'm the one in charge. I'm asking.
I'm asking. Answer the questions.
You said power needs to be generated in northern province.
The way I understand them. And I'm telling you, energy is in two formats.
I agree, but you raised the point.
Trying to get to energy.
Mr. President, with due respect.
No. I will
let's have a sequence. You said the mistake is we're not generating
electricity.
Yeah.
I know CEC has done studies. We have studied those studies. There are about 3-4 points where we can increase production of electricity to 1,500 megawatts, 1,000 megawatts, and 700 megawatts, which we can kick into the grid very quickly. Those points have been studied, and CEC is willing to invest. We've studied. We've known these points are there. What is the problem with investment? This government doesn't want CEC, which is a private company, to invest. Why? ZESCO doesn't have the money. A private company does. There are other investors who've shown interest in the northern circuit. We are stopping them from generating electricity. Second of all, there are also studies to show that there are 3-4 sites where we can put up nuclear plants. Do you know we mine uranium here? Those studies are there, Costa. They're there. Uranium is a cleaner energy, but it will give us more electricity. And we can power this whole region using our uranium. All we have to do is clear it with the IEA. That's it.
So
can I finish?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
The president was talking in his opposition. When he was in opposition, no, we shall put up solar plants in each province. Plant. Has he done that? No. So it's not just a political criticism. It's an economic criticism.
If you allow me to have a rider on that, the energy reforms policy-wise that this government has put in place are one, on the electricity aspect, open access onto the grid, that private players such as CEC and others, we've seen the mines do it. They can use ZESCO infrastructure, find their own source of power to import and use the open line. Two, the mixed grid that they're talking about. They've projected that they do over 1,000 megawatts by starting with the Chisamba 100 megawatts through solar. Stanbic and others have put into that. So the mixture of this, isn't this the right step? You think that, plus the groundbreaking that ZCC, MIH and Mamba are doing for another extra 300 megawatts in terms of trying to diversify the power sources from hydro?
Currently, 500 megawatts of power in terms of transmission in private hands. That's wrong. That's wrong. And I'll tell you why. If you have private hands controlling such an amount of electricity in private hands, you as a government don't know what they're doing with that power. And they're not accountable to you. We must always check these private companies.
Just to be corrected,
the private companies are there for profits.
But just to be corrected, isn't that what you were just preaching a short while ago, that we need private investment?
The problem is, you ask a question, before I answer it, you bring in a counter.
It's all right, I'm just trying to understand.
Just learn to listen. Learn to listen. The Zambians want to learn. Transmission means the government doesn't lose control completely. These are national infrastructure which have been invested into by the government. So there must be a rider as to control. What mechanisms have been put in place over that 500 megawatts, which is in private hands, to be controlled? We have been told now that CEC is making a lot of profit. It's $1 billion company on the stock exchange. That is because they're having a free ride. What are they paying? Not as much as they should be paying. Remember, CEC doesn't generate power. We want them to be in generation. Let them generate their own power. That's where I started from. Now, if they're buying power from ZESCO and then riding on ZESCO transmission, that's a free ride. Such things must be stopped, Costa. This infrastructure belongs to you and me and the Zambians. How we use it, the Zambians need to know. That's the point I'm making.
So then, obviously, we have regulators such as the ERB,
Yeah.
and we have the Ministry of Energy regulating. What, through your manifesto, then, would you propose in terms of controlling the extent to which private players get involved?
Well,
What is the solution?
We'd like them to invest. Invest in generation. So that we know that they're also, well, basically they should have some skin in the game. If they don't have that, then they're having it for free. And that's what we want to stop. We have to stop that, Costa.
Then back to my question again.
Yes.
We're aware of what the climatic factors are doing in terms of hydropower. So would you still be saying that they should be investing, one, in hydro? Two, you've heard the long-time debate of the fact that private investors, CC, we've now been told of Greenco and others. Let's just talk about why private players cannot invest in our energy sector, the issue of a cost of service study, and the argument that our tariffs are not attractive. And then there have been attempts to increase these tariffs, I think in the last 4 or so years. Do you agree with this?
Costa, if the mines want to invest in power generation, Zambia must also allow them. If CEC wants to invest in power generation, we shall allow them. You know why? It frees our investment portfolio as a country. We can let them have that power. No problem. It's that simple. Why are you stopping them? Like I said, I was chairman of the Competition Commission. I know what competition does. But when you have a monopoly, you have a problem. Because the monopolist will always want to price you out. And that's a problem.
Are the current tariff measures adequate enough? Do you agree that we need an adequate cost of service study for us to clear this industry?
It's debatable, but I think looking at our economy and the level of development at which we are, it's too much for the poor Zambian. I'm worried about the Zambian, not about the companies. The companies can invest. The companies can fight for their business. But it's the poor Zambian, the one who I want to be president over. That's the man I'm looking for, the man in the street. That's the one I want to look for. Can he afford this tariff? No. Do we want to price him out of business? Do you want to price him out of having electricity in his home? That's wrong. So find other ways of having electricity in his home. Nuclear is one source. Solar, yes, but solar is not as reliable as nuclear. Why? When there's clouds, we have a problem. The weather changes, when it rains, it's a problem. But when it's sunny, yes. But solar cannot power the mines because you need consistency in the mines. Some industries need big machines which require a standard format of power. That requires hydro or nuclear. So there must be generation in those areas. We must invest.
Regardless of the tariff framework?
Yes.
So they can dictate their own tariff?
We can dictate, but we can agree. Bring them to the table, we discuss. They'll be using our transmission lines after all. We can still charge them.
And so what do you make of the current agreement under open access? Because it definitely deals within the same.
I am not sure of the details, but I know that part of the problem is the current president is a businessman, and he has fronted his friends. He has fronted his business associates. So I wouldn't go into that for now.
Let's get back to the area you were so eager to comment over. And I want to take it from a historical sense.
Yes.
And I do agree with you that, first of all, aspects of petroleum are a key factor in driving, any economy.
Right.
And we do not produce oil or petroleum as a country, but I think I remember from Mwanawasa's time and in the MMD, there were talks that we were discovering potential deposits of oil and issues of a pipeline across Tazama. When the PF came into office, and even the UPND in opposition, everybody spoke about removing the middleman.
Yes.
In making the process of fuel cheaper.
Yes.
We now have, under the UPND, this so-called removal of the middleman and the open access, again, through the use of Tazama. Tazama, which is a shared asset between Tanzania and Zambia. We own two-thirds equity in Tazama. Indeni has now been transformed into a sort of OMC. They are also competing on the open access as well as other private sectors. Is this the correct mix? And as you answer, the government is saying fuel prices have dropped. So for them, it's a quenny.
Thank you for the question, Costa. Look, we all know our history. The Tazama pipeline was installed to import commingled oil product. That's why Indeni was set up. Per se, it's not a refinery. It's a separator. And once you have this commingled product coming in, it separates diesel, petrol, jet fuel, Vaseline, and you have your road things, bitumen coming out and stuff like that, which is okay. Once you kill that, you're killing Indeni. And they've killed it because they've allowed Shashi through agrofuels to just import fuel, finished product. That's wrong. What are you doing with the factory there? You've sent people away. You've killed that industry. We have not reached that level of development as a nation. For me, we need that. But we also need another pipeline, which is closer through Zimbabwe. Studies have been made. We can bring that line right here into Lusaka for finished products through Beira. That's easier. But leave Tazama the way it's supposed to be, what it was meant to be. In addition, when you do that, then you remove this element of monopoly over agrofuels. We're not depending on one player. You're talking about middlemen being removed. What is agrofuel doing there? Let me finish, Costa. Please, let me finish. We know for a fact that when agrofuel was starting, and when he was being given a license, he had 5 trucks. I know that. Those trucks were not even working, but he was given a license. He started giving subcontracts to other people who had trucks to import. Then he went and negotiated at Community House. He was given access to Tazama pipeline. That's unfair.
I think the question I'm trying to ask here is the ERB as an oversight watchdog playing its role? Yes, like you're saying, at the beginning, we have investigated and these concerns were raised as to why Agrofuel were the only company benefiting from this open access thing.
Right.
And eventually, what we see is that every month there is a tender of up to, say, 3 minimum. We're told 3 suppliers. We've been, Indeni is one of them. We've engaged Indeni. They are also importing a certain quantity. There's people like Devon and being supplied by ADNOC and so on. Isn't Indeni playing its role? And I ask this question in the framework of, like you're saying, this is a national asset.
Yes.
It's far more cheaper to pass, whether it's and this is only for diesel because petrol is still coming by road. It's far much cheaper to pass through the diesel via the pipeline and receive it as a finished product because you're not paying bulk tariff fees for the road and so on. But is ERB playing its watchdog role with the monopoly or the abuse that you accuse companies or players like Agrofuel to be playing in?
No, it's not. No, it's not. I know that for a fact. It's not. Shashi is above the law.
But definitely, when you see what's happening and what the government is saying, you cannot have with the law and framework that an individual can be above the law.
It's easy to say, Costa. But when politicians are behind somebody in a third world country, it can happen. And it's happening now. Nobody at ERB can talk when Shashi talks. I have information, Costa. I'm not just talking. He can have people fired for arguing with him. I know that. People have been fired. People have been transferred. We can sit here and have this conversation. Go on the ground. Go and talk to the technocrats. They'll tell you they're afraid of this guy. Why? Community House. Well, but Community House is what? It's State House.
But then, for the sake of the Zambians watching tonight, this is the danger we have in you, the politicians, that in one breath you say this, the next you do the other, because this issue of whether you call it capture or business friends, you also have business affiliates, you also have friends, you also have sympathizers. So why should then Zambians trust either of you when you say there's a problem with politicians?
I'm not coming from the business world, Costa. I'm a lawyer by profession. So
that doesn't make you a saint.
No, I'm not saying
it doesn't make you a saint.
No, but I'm not. What I'm saying is I don't have those skeletons you're accusing me of having business friends. No, I don't.
My question then
I go by the law.
My question then is, how do Zambians, with what you're saying, that politicians are gullible? This is the problem of politicians, having very powerful business people who will ride upon the law. What then is the solution to prevent this? Because you're telling us the situation is so bad that then we're doomed.
I keep saying this, and I'll say it to you, Costa, and I'll say it to the Zambians. Leadership is about character. Please let that register. It's about character. And unfortunately, my friend in State House is lacking one thing: character. And that's a problem we have. His business interests come first. His friends come first before the country. And that's a problem. You can't accuse me of that. So I'm asking the Zambians to trust me on that score. What the law says, what the law says, Costa, is what it's going to be.
What is the measure of, or the barometer of character according to you? Even within your legal practice, there are no skeletons there?
Bring them, Costa. Bring them. We've got the Law Association of Zambia, which regulates lawyers. You can be suspended for doing something wrong. If they clear you, come back and practice. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah? It's normal. It's human. I can be accused of anything. But if I'm cleared, there's nothing there. That's the way life is. If you accuse Costa of sexual harassment, for example, you go to court and you're cleared, the case is over. We must respect the law. No human being is a saint. We all have problems. But look at the character of a person in decision-making. That's the issue. Mine will be based on the law. The law will come first. The Zambians will judge me on how I interpret and protect the constitution of this country and the various economic laws surrounding this country.
Let's go back to discussing the economic, variables of what is currently obtaining. You describe this, debt restructuring as probably just deferring debt to future, generations. But others economically who look at this say it was a necessary evil to restructure the interest payments and spread them over a long period of time in order to begin plowing back into certain economic aspects, hence the stagnation now that if this was not done, inflation would have galloped to even far much higher than we see it now. And we hear even the IMF resident rep applauding the strides and the moves made by this, administration for that restructuring.
Well, the IMF, for me, will say what they can say. They'll argue what they can argue. I know better. And what I'm saying is simply this. There was a time when KK kicked out the IMF. We did far much better in terms of creativity. We had our own drinks like Tarino, Tip Top, etc. When they came back, they bought them off the shelf, the intellectual property, and they brought back Coca-Cola. If you want to develop on your own. How did China do it? They closed up. How did South Korea do it? They closed up. There are certain risks you have to take as a nation. Certain decisions you have to take as a nation. Some of the economic theories we've been given by the IMF, the World Bank, and all these Brentwood organizations, they don't work for Africa. We've got to face that. And you have to be bold enough, Costa, as a leader, to take that decision. Bite the bullet. But if you're going to go by the IMF model all the time, you'll be in debt for the rest of your life. Is that what you want?
We are told this is an IMF, it's a Zambian homegrown solution by the IMF supervised because they're lending us
Why
this
should
money.
Why should this IMF supervise us?
Because they're lending us the money.
That's the whole point. We shouldn't be borrowing.
So coming back to your issue of a homegrown solution and the example you give of being a closed economy, how does it work in a global sphere? Because yes, you can produce, but who do you sell to?
Let me say this without sounding difficult, Costa. France is on fire today. You may not know because the big news outlets won't talk about it. France is on fire today. Why? Because 14 African states have simply said, we're turning off the tap. It's too much. There was a clause in giving those Francophone countries in their independence that they shall pay homage to France. 85% of their income must go through France, Francophone, and then come back. And they've said no. France is on fire today. Why can't we do that? Copper is here, emerald is here, cobalt is here, nickel is here, uranium is here. The minerals are here. Why can't we control that? Why do we have to take all our minerals to the London Metal Exchange to have them dictate the price?
Yeah.
Can I finish? Why, Costa?
But you must also allow me to ask riders.
No, I know there will be a follow-up. You ask me a question, let me enjoy answering it. The reason for that is leadership.
Yes, but as I ask my rider, I'm sorry that you think I'm interjecting you, but it's also, first of all, the disappointment and the frustration being a journalist for the last 20 years. Many of you, including yourself, have come and go on such platforms promising me the same. Leadership. I've interviewed President Sata, President Mwanawasa, all of them have said the same thing, that we need to take control of our own resources. I've heard this. Why should our copper be sold? You're not the first one. So how different will it be? This is what I'm asking. Yes, you laugh at it, but we've heard this song. The MMD preached this song. The PF preached this song. We are still producing raw copper. Are we exporting any finished product? Are we doing any value addition, President KBF?
No, we're not.
And don't tell me you haven't been party to this song yourself from the PF time.
No.
In the manifestos you produced.
No. I wasn't in a position to take a decision.
No, but you were part of the manifestos written with the same message, unless you deny it.
I am here to say to you, no matter how much you give somebody a written speech, if you're not the one to implement it, it won't happen. I'm saying now I'll implement it.
You had the influence writing those speeches and being party to those manifestos and ideologies. You believed in it, even in the PF, that we needed value addition.
I will not go there.
And you will not work alone, definitely.
I will not go there, Costa. This is Zambia Must Prosper. Concentrate on here. I'm the president of a political party. I'm not president of PF. I will not go there.
Yeah, but I'm not accusing you of being president of PF.
I will not go there.
People track on historical issues. That's why I'm asking, how then...
I was not a councillor. I was not a mayor. I was not an MP. I was not a minister. I was not a president. I'm a president now. Ask me now.
Yes, but this is exactly my question. How then will you make it work when we've heard this message over and over that we need to take control? In fact, going forward, as you cut out the so-called powerful, the G20 and so on, Africa is still grappling with an idea of very minimal intra-trade in itself. You're talking of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Talks for decades, this has failed to happen. How are you going to unlock that?
Costa, sometimes in life, you have to take decisions that are going to hurt you, but for the betterment of your future and the future of your children. And that's the kind of leader I am. I take decisions. And that's what Zambians must expect. If I get into State House, that's what they will expect. No lies, just the bottom line, the truth. The common denominator is we need to change the way we live. We need to change who we are as a people. And that begins with decision-making, character. Hakainde Hichilema has failed to make those decisions because of state capture.
So going forward, if all that is in this speech is lies, if all that is in this speech is rhetoric, let's begin to hear the Zambia Must Prosper blueprint. We have inflation at 12.6%.
Right.
We have debt of over, 20 billion. 26 kwacha per litre. We have now the exchange rate at around just under 24 kwacha against the US dollar.
Right.
And we have Zambians complaining that the cost of living is high, the basic commodities that you talk about.
Right.
So what are those radical things or solutions that you're promising the Zambians? Again, sorry, I'll keep on referring, because at one point we were told by pro-poor manifestos that in 90 days things will shift, or the trolleys will be changed. So what lie are you coming with as Zambia must prosper?
There's no lies.
I mean, let's hear this radical shift.
All right. First things first. We must always look at what we have in the hands. What do we have, Costa? We have minerals. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn ZCCM IH into a venture capital company. That means ZCCM IH will have to go into prospecting, exploration, and presenting bankable documents of mining. If, for instance, the geological reports say we've got so much in terms of sugilite, we've got so much in terms of cobalt, we've got so much in terms of gold, once that's turned into bankable documents, we're able to float that on the stock exchange. That's how you turn an economy around. The money must come from the investors into this country, not being sold out there. I'll give you an example. When Lumwana was being made out, they told us they were investing close to 2 billion in Lumwana. When the feasibilities were done and everything was done, they sold that to a Canadian firm for $7 billion. Just papers. Papers, Costa. You think we can't do that? We don't have geologists in Zambia? We do. We don't have the mappings in Zambia? We do. That's what you do. That's radical. So most of these things you can do, but you play with the economy based on what you have in the hand. Number one. Number two, we should bring back companies such as Memako. We should sell our own copper, our own minerals. Put the floors here. Like we have in Zimbabwe, the auction floors of tobacco. Bring the minerals here to be sold here. The emeralds must be sold here. The copper must be sold here. The money must come into Zambia, Costa, not sold on the high seas. Control what you have. It's called leadership. That's how you take decisions.
But as much
you
as...
ask me, let me enjoy answering this. Please. Because if you bring in another question, the Zambians may not listen. I'm just talking about the minerals. We control
but surely
the
I'm
minerals.
allowed to ask a rider.
Yes, you are,
talking.
but let me finish on the minerals. You control the minerals. Why?
And I'm about to ask a question on the minerals. The question is, and that's the problem with politicians, you don't want to be kept accountable. And this is why we're in this situation, because when Zambians are told we'll end poverty in 90 days, we believe. When we are told Bali will fix things, we believe. So we have to hold you accountable rather than you just spewing lies without being questioned. Because for the last 60 years, don't tell us we haven't had this copper. Don't tell us there's no politician who has said what you're saying today, KBF.
You haven't had KBF.
And this is where you are refusing that I should question you.
You haven't
that
had
you haven't
KBF.
been part and parcel of the fabric.
It's like Barcelona when they didn't have Messi.
So the question,
let me finish. When Barcelona didn't have Messi, they had other players. When Messi came, he won Ballon d'Or.
So the question
That's how life
the
is.
question is, KBF.
Yes.
The question is, why has the global system been rigged in that manner? That
it's historical, Costa.
And this is where I'm going.
It's historical.
This is where I'm going.
Yes.
Will it take you as an individual to break the global system?
No.
That Africa has gold, Africa has emeralds, but all that is decided in India, it's decided in Switzerland. You alone as KBF will break the global...
You're misunderstanding me, Costa.
This is the question.
You need networking. You need networking. You need big brothers. And sometimes when Uncle Sam lets you down, you go to Uncle Tom. That's how life is. So, if you have, for instance, Uncle Sam on the one side, Uncle Tom on the other side, you weigh the options. Where am I getting the best benefit? You go there. If Uncle Sam wants to come back to the negotiating table because now he realizes that you have an option or there's competition on the table, good. I'll keep reminding you, I was chairman of the Competition Commission. I know what competition can do. So when you make a person compete for what he wants, bring in other players, okay, then you have a chance to negotiate. You win or lose at the negotiating table, Costa. Negotiations are important.
And the president says he's probably the best negotiator this country has ever had.
We've seen his negotiation skills, Costa. You and I know. What did we get out of Mopani? Nothing. We gave a mine to a broke guy. Is that negotiation? People are losing jobs on the copper belt. I know that for a fact. There's no new investment in KCM, no new investment in Mopani. Nothing is happening on the copper belt. The copper belt is dying.
You being a lawyer, do you agree with the president's sentiments that we should not do business in court? And particularly he was talking about the stagnated, contractual impasse between KCM and the government. And he says, with his approach, KCM now is back on track. Mopani and the Glencore deal that the previous administration left is now a better deal. From a legal perspective, is that the right approach?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes it is. But you weigh your options. Which is better for you? Where you think you can win, you use that option. It's not always that you go to court. But if you're going to judge a person from what he says, I don't want to sound condescending, but here's a man who says he wants to negotiate all the time. He takes a widow to court over a corpse. Does that sound good? Don't look at me like that, Costa. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
No, I'm talking about.
It's the same person.
I'm talking about.
It's the same person.
I'm talking about the KCM standoff.
It's the principle.
And the question was.
It's the principle.
And the question was, should we have continued protracting in court?
If he thought he was going to win on the table, he got a deal that he wanted. Mopani is dying. That's the deal he got. Now we have this broke guy trying to use our assets to borrow money. Why didn't we borrow the money ourselves? Those are the loopholes, the lacunas that I'm seeing. The negotiations were not done in good faith.
But when going to the table, you know very well that these mines were on care and maintenance. So it's not as easy as you put it here this evening.
Who drove the mines into care and maintenance? Same Mopani. Same guy. So you should know. You should investigate who you're dealing with.
Well, but at the time he was taking over in 2021, the mines were under care and maintenance. It was definitely not him, sir.
Read your history, Costa.
No, but let's say the truth. Let's say the truth. Yes. In its status in 2021,
right?
We are not talking about the privatization. I think let's be factual. In 2021, the PF prior to that had just done a deal with Glencore of taking back ownership of Mopani.
What the PF proposed is not what Haga in the HLM and the UPND gave us. That I'll tell you. The Glencore deal was far much better than the deal that he got with this, I forget his name now, the broke guy.
Well, with Mopani, there's IRH of Abu Dhabi.
They've brought no investment cost. No investment, no money.
If we compare the two, lay on the table why the Glencore deal of the PF is better than what we have now.
I thought we're discussing the speech of the president. You're taking me back into mining.
Well, mining was part of the things that the president spoke about, and I can attribute to it. He says that on the revival of Mopani, he spoke about Shaft 28 in Luanshya, he spoke about KCM. That's why I'm asking these questions. And I can paraphrase here.
What did he say on mining?
He pointed out the restructuring of Mopani as a major success alongside billions in new mining investments at FQM. He's been to open new nickel plants. He's spoken about the projected copper output, the 1 million tons now for 2025. I'm quoting his speech. And that's why I'm asking this question.
He wants to produce 3 million tons.
In 10 years.
Of copper.
In 10 years. And they're projecting 1 million tons at the end of 2025.
You know, he told me that just before I walked out of the UPND Alliance. Same story. And I told him to his face, it won't happen. And I'm telling the Zambians, it's a lie. The UPND government doesn't have a policy on mining. They have no clear policy on mining. Please understand, there is no vision in the UPND. When you talk about mining, you must go back to basics. And what I've told you is exactly how you revive the mines. Use ZCCM IH as a venture capitalist company. Let it do the bidding. Set up Memako, call it New Memako or whatever. Control the selling of your minerals here in Zambia. That's the only way you cure that. If you don't do that, you'll see those trucks leave They'll be going, carrying all the copper, raw materials and whatever, you will get nothing. ZRA doesn't even know how much they are earning right now. They are told how much they are earning, they pay according to what they tell ZRA. That's not how you run a tax regime, especially in mining. I know that for a fact. So the Zambians must not be cheated that Aga in the HLM and the UPND are in control of the mining sector. They don't know what they're doing.
So what you talk about there is probably brown and greenfield prospects in terms of geology, exploration and so on. We are only 11 or so months away from an election.
Yes.
If Zambians had to elect you, there's still things on the ground right now. There's greenfield projects now that First Quantum are talking about,
yes.
And this administration is saying if it were not for their policies, First Quantum would have packed and gone. And yes, First Quantum has unveiled over $2 billion worth of projects that we are seeing were launched even just last month. Cobalt as well in Chilawombwe have announced another project. So if you had to take over, besides what you're proposing, how then would you handle immediately these greenfield projects?
Bring in new players.
And kick out First Quantum?
They want
and
to go.
Kick out,
if they
and
want
kick
to
out
go,
Cobalt
if they
with all
want,
the investment they've made?
Costa, if a person wants to walk away from you when you're bleeding financially, let them walk. Take that decision. Bring in new players. That's it.
So if I'm getting you right, if KBF is elected in August next year, you kick out Cobalt and
I'm
First
not
Quantum?
kicking. If they want to walk out, we'll let them walk out. But we'll find new players. This world is turning on minerals. Everybody needs minerals. Rare minerals and the known minerals. Everybody's talking. Why do you think they're coming here?
So what is the Zambia Must Prosper policy in terms of how you think we should best position ourselves in what you talk about? Because with climate change, the world is positioning itself with green metals and EV production and so on. This administration is saying they're talking to everybody, the Chinese, the Americans. There's talks between us and Congo of having battery assembly plants and so on. What is your structure around how we should futuristically position ourselves?
The first thing is we must take control of our minerals. We must take control of our resources. We must take control. And I'm using the term deliberately, control. When you don't know what you have in hands, you give it away easily. You give it away cheaply. The problem with us as Zambians, we don't know what we have. The Muzungus have been coming into Africa for how long? Hundreds of years. Why do they keep coming, Costa? Ask yourself that. Once you realize why they keep coming, then you know there are things which are valuable here. That's what we should control. Put in the new rules. As Zambia Must Prosper, we are saying we know where the problem is. And one of the major problems is we have to control what we're terming as the economic laws. I'm a lawyer. I've studied those laws. Land law. That has to be revamped and relooked at. We have to look at our commerce and trade. We have to look at our electricity, our water rights. We can't have people just blocking off rain, blocking off rivers and diverting rivers. People polluting rivers and like we don't know what we want. No. There's got to be a way of punishing people.
So
and if the law is not enough, Costa, I know that the president has a right to protect his nationals against people who invade, pollute, and want to kill his nationals.
So just as a point of clarity,
yes,
you help us simplify this control, because at independence, KK and team created all these things that you've spoken about, MEMACO, INDECO, FINDECO, and ZCCM, to basically have the control that you're talking about over our mineral resources. We came in with privatization in the 90s and we liberalized these things, and now we are being told under the current structure that ZCCMIH owns these resources on behalf of the Zambians because we have a stake in each mining conglomerate.
Right.
Help me understand on behalf of the viewers.
Right.
You speak control, but break it down. How will Zambians have, in fact, I'll go further, control and ownership of their resources?
Go to Zaire as it was. A young prime minister came into force, Patrice Lumumba. He was only 35 years old. Why did they kill him? Why was Kwame Nkrumah toppled? Why was Gaddafi toppled? When you want to take control, they fight. So you've got to be smart. So I'm sorry, Costa. I may not tell you everything here. But the point is we need control. These multinationals have been here for a very long time. And they've been getting an easy ride. We need to network and speak together as nations. There are blocks, economic blocks that we can befriend. There are countries that we can befriend. And we need those countries to help us restructure and take control. That's what I mean.
Still on the same, I know that the president touched largely on the big mining copper conglomerates, but we know that this country is endowed not only with copper, cobalt, but gold and emeralds.
Right.
Still on your point of control, we've struggled a lot. Just 2 weeks ago, if not last week, the president hosted at Mulungushi here a meeting with artisanal mining, but we had a very tragic scenario a couple of months ago in Kikonge. Over 25,000 plus young people besieging that place because of what we can call a gold rush. Chaos. And every time we find gold deposits, the solution is put army, put ZNS, and this never works.
Yes.
Lives are lost. But people feel that this is our natural endowment.
Yes.
Are you thinking through this process? Because again,
we've already thought through it.
Because again, this is a failure of past leadership.
Yes.
And I keep on asking, how then should we believe that yours will be different? How do we control artisanal mining, gold and precious metals?
When Aka in the HDM, I was asked this question, I remember vividly, it was at Community House by small-scale miners, the Jarabos. What are you going to do for us as people on the copper belt? And he said, I'll give you mining licenses. You can then go and negotiate with investors and then partner with them, etc. That was his answer. It doesn't work like that, Costa. When you have a license, you have the underground rights to mining and artisan or whatever license that the government gives you. A guy coming with money comes to dictate to you the terms and conditions. Government must not do that. The government must help the small guy and make sure that the minerals are controlled by the Zambians. The investors must then come to a buffer where government is also involved. Because these small guys will be swallowed if we're not careful. Therefore, we'll give back these mines. They'll sell those licenses eventually. That's what's been happening. This is the perpetual cycle of having us in poverty. That's what we're trying to get out of the pit. So we, as government, as Zambia must prosper, will protect the small guy. Not just give them licenses. No, we'll protect them.
But my biggest challenge is, with all these deposits, we don't seem to have a structured industry for precious metals. We seem to have something to talk about when it comes to copper and these best metals. But let's talk about gold. Yes, we are lucky we have it. But it's like it's still, like you're calling it artisanal.
But did you hear me?
There's no structure.
You heard me talk about setting up a company like a new Memako. We can buy gold from these small-scale miners if we set up a parastatal. We use IDC, for instance, to move in there and set up industries in the provinces.
You're talking an example format. Is there a blueprint in your manifesto?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Because we were told also by the current president, in certain instances, these things are already in place. Come August 13, we'll just... And sorry, I have to ask these tough questions because you politicians are cut from the same cloth. You tend to...
I wish you didn't have to lump me in that group.
Well,
the point I
don't even want to be as subtle as saying I keep on asking you this. You are the one who promised the Zambians that HH will prosper this.
He lied to me.
How did he lie to you?
Lie to me,
how can you lie to you as a seasoned, mature adult person of good character?
I'm just as human as you. Anyone can be cheated.
You can obviously not tell Zambians today
anyone can be cheated,
that you blindly followed Hakainde.
Anyone can be cheated. Anyone can be cheated, Costa, even you.
You were part of propelling those ideologies.
I will never, ever deny that, but I was cheated. And I've apologized to Zambians. I'm still apologizing today.
So in a similar fashion, you can also cheat us.
Well, if you haven't done your studies, Costa, like he didn't, but he kept lying, yes, the Zambians will see the difference. And that's where the difference will come in.
The biggest question I'll have for you is, are you patriotic to this Zambia?
And that's the difference, yes.
Are you?
Yeah.
So if you are, and you believe you have brilliant ideas to prosper this country, it can only happen at your time, and you cannot advise and work with the current administration?
I've tried. I've tried. I've tried to help under the PF, as you know. I've tried to help when I put my friend into power under UPND, when I helped him. I've tried.
What is trying?
Costa, when you write books and you write manifestos and you give people, but they don't understand things the way you understand them, that's trying. I have tried.
So you believe that this country can only be turned around with you at the helm?
I didn't say that.
It's just a question I'm asking.
But I'm saying I am one of the people giving those solutions.
Are you a team player?
Yes, I am. Very clear. But when I see problems, I walk away. Because then I don't want to be put in that bracket of you lied to me. No, I don't want that.
Could it be that then you are a team player only when you're in front?
No. I've told you before, Costa. I've been on this program and I've said this. I've said to the Zambians out there, I am prepared to be led. But if the guy leading shows or proves to me that Takwete Amano, I leave. That's who I am.
I want us to quickly discuss a very broad issue with the last 5-10 minutes that we have.
Right.
It's the issue of what I may describe as both international, foreign and geopolitical dynamics.
Right.
You've spoken about mining, negotiation and all this energy. It all comes to the fact that we play in a global environment.
Right.
The Trump administration really has come up with a disruptive, global agenda.
Yes.
It's America first, us and nobody else. They've pulled out USAID. It's affected our health sector. It's affected literally every part of the world with what USAID was doing.
Including Europe.
We now have, on the global front,
Yes.
with the tariff war, the BRICS movement growing.
Yes.
Apart from just what started Brazil, Russia, India and China, you're seeing now that the Arabic countries are joining. And the show of strength we saw in the victory celebration in China, where you have the likes of what are termed communist leaders. You've got Vladimir Putin, Narendra Modi, Kim Jong-un. When you see all these happenings, and I see what is called the East and the West, Africa is right
in the middle.
In the middle.
Right.
Where are we?
Well, our forefathers taught us a long time ago, Costa. We're non-aligned. But we shall trade and do business with whichever side profits Zambia. That's me. I'll not lean to one side. I'll cut right through the middle. But whoever is going to make Zambia prosperous, that's my friend. Don't assume that simply because you're enemies with that person, I'll be enemies with that person. I don't work like that. No. So whoever profits Zambia will be Zambia's friend. So if the Chinese come here and offer me a deal which is better than the Americans, I'll take the Chinese deal. That's how life is. It's called competition. I keep going back to the term competition. I want you to understand it, Costa. Competition makes people struggle for something. Because that's how life is. If you don't compete for something, it comes on the cheap, you are going to abuse that thing. People must always fight for something. It's like fighting for a bride. You're proposing a girl, I'm proposing the same girl, she has to choose who's the best. That's how life is. So Zambia is still relatively a young country. And therefore we must protect this virgin, okay? And make sure that she gets the right suitor.
Very quickly, reading your book, you give very good examples of Lee Kuan Yew and Singapore and all that. But the challenge, even when you say it's about negotiation, and you've been at negotiation tables as a lawyer, the famous phrase of bringing something to the table. We are always flat-footed as Africa when we're going onto this. Even these economies, we give example of Singapore, South Korea, even China 40, 50 years ago was not as strong as it is.
Yes.
But riding on the backdrop of things like Tazara and coming into Africa, they can be strong enough by stockpiling copper, which they don't heavily mine, and come now back to Africa, go to US, and become the biggest lender in the world.
It's being strategic, Costa. That's why I said close up. And by close up, I'm not saying don't invite people in. No. Close your policies of development and fix on what you have. Make sure you use your raw materials, your local human resource, your local engineers, your local technicians. Make sure you come up with an answer that suits your culture. Don't just suit the culture of the West or the East. Your culture comes first. Once you do that, people will respect you.
China had a plan, 15 to 100 years, and they've clearly achieved it. Singapore had a plan.
Yes.
South Korea had a plan.
Yes.
What is our turnaround plan?
The ZMP plan. Our manifesto.
In how many years?
10 years at the most. We don't have to wait for 30. 10 years. And then we can see light at the end of the tunnel.
We have the right fundamentals right now?
Right now, we don't have the right fundamentals, I'm sorry to say, simply because...
So is 10 years feasible?
Yes, it is. At least to put the energy sector into place, one, to put our infrastructure into place, to put our mining into place, and to put our agriculture into place. These 4 pillars will develop any country.
We haven't touched much on issues around agriculture, but let me end like this.
Right.
Some of the scores that the president talked about, obviously education, 2.3 million learners are back, 42,000 teachers, and obviously he talks about free education, health, 282 new health facilities, 18,000 workers, recruited, and obviously 1.5 billion in annual support funding to SMEs, and obviously the increment of CDF, the famous 31 billion kwacha going into developments in constituencies. I know that your reaction to all this is it's not working. It's for you it doesn't make sense. These things are not...
No, I want specifics, Costa.
I know that for you, in all that the president and the UPND say, you believe it's all a lie, it's not translating to the ground, it's not working. Now my question is this. We are 10 months to an election in August. What the many Zambians are saying out there is that yes, many may agree with you that the UPND says Kwenyu on GDP coming down. They say Kwenyu on free education. They say Kwenyu on expanding, the energy mix. They say Kwenyu on opening Mopani and KCM.
Right.
But it's not translating onto the tables and in the pots.
Right.
However, they're saying that they've got no alternative to look at in terms of an opposition. It's the Zambians saying that they don't feel you people in the opposition are coming out convincingly to speak alternative that is convincing enough to these Kwenyus. Surely this is very worrying, and I can give you this feedback that right now many say they would rather stay away from voting because there's no alternative.
It's very worrying when people speak like that, but this is what I'm going to say to you, Costa. Just last week, I gave a national address, and I told the Zambians, Zambia must prosper, is hitting the ground. Watch this space. That's all I can say. Anyone who says there's no opposition, watch this space. Let them dream. But coming back to some of the things that you read over there, for instance, 200 and what health posts. Did he name the districts where those health posts are? Of course not. 42,000 what teachers? Do we have the statistics? Of course not. These are stories. HH wants to throw numbers, and big numbers at that, because he knows that people in Zambia don't read. Some of us do. We know what the lies are. And we know why he's mentioning those figures. He wants to give the Zambians this sense of hope when there's no hope at all. So let's face the facts. This is a failed regime. It's a one-term government. Let's look at it like that.
Finally, ZMP Zambia must ZMP is hitting the ground.
Yes.
Are you hitting the ground alone, or you're going into an alliance? Because again, this is where you're bringing up this confusion, especially after the demise of President Lungu. Surely, with the ECZ targeting 3.5 million, new voters,
right,
and I think I respect you on this, that when it comes to strategic aspects of the election, you understand very well that the new cadre of voters, the Gen Zs, surely are not going to be banking on theories like, I'm the anointed one by Balungu or Basata. So I mean, again, I have to tell you, the message is not sitting home to these new voters.
Has the message been there yet?
What are you waiting for? It's 10 months to an election.
My point. That's why we've said...
You're waiting for somebody to anoint you?
No, Costa.
Because that's the debate we're seeing.
Listen to me, Costa. That's a very important question. It's so sad that you're bringing it at the end of the interview. And you're not being fair to me, my brother. Come on. I wish I had more time.
Please go ahead.
Okay. The youths of Zambia know that the UPND is a failed project. They're looking for alternative leadership. And that's why we as Zambia Must Prosper are telling them we're hitting the ground running. The message will be out there. We were trying to be culturally respectful to the mortal remains of Valungu. But if you heard the address that I gave to the nation, I said, Mwana twele la koma ewa esta, because we have to move on. And this is what we want to do. I was being respectful because I didn't want to be seen to be just pretending. No. You've got to address these issues and head on, if you may. And this is what we've done. We'll be hitting the ground. So those Gen Zs don't mind what the Kwenyus and Kwenyus are if they can't see it in their pockets, if they can't feel it when they are not, when they can't buy food and they can't pay their school fees or rentals. So it won't help the UPND.
Yeah, but exactly my point is, we are moving in a world of artificial intelligence and technology and all these things that we need to use digital technology for growth and monetization.
Right.
Yet the message coming out of the opposition is you're still fighting around who was anointed.
I don't know who's fighting. I'm not fighting.
So are you still banking on the fact that we need to bury and soon hear who did former President Lungu, may so rest in peace, prefer to take over? Because this seems to be the riding song in the opposition, like we are waiting for this to happen, then we get into this of who was the preferred person.
No. Lungu, Israel may so rest in peace, doesn't have to choose who the next leader of this country is. The Zambians are going to choose the next leader. That's all I can say. So, and the next leader is who the Zambians are going to listen to. So in hitting the nail on the head, yes.
Are you going into next year's election in an alliance or as...
We are already in Tonse Alliance. Okay? We are working within the alliance. But in the alliance, there are various political parties. But at the table, the Council of Leaders, I'll tell you this, some of those leaders don't want to be presidents because they know they have no capacity. I'm sorry to say this, but that's the truth.
So to be very clear for the Zambians, we should also wait for you at a certain point to discuss with the alliance who the adoptable candidate will be?
Zambia Must Prosper has started.
What is starting meaning? Are you going to be on the ballot in 2026? Simple.
I said that, yes.
I'm asking you.
I am saying it here, yes.
On the ticket of Zambia Must Prosper?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Costa.
That's Costa for this evening. My guest has been the president of Zambia Must Prosper, Honorable Kelvin Fubebwalia. We've been discussing the presidential speech, but key among them, obviously, is what is the agenda come 2026 of August that the Zambia Must Prosper will have to turn Zambia's fortunes and economic prospects around. Thank you so much for watching. Good night and God bless.
Thank you.